Hey there, you. Ever feel like your project management style needs a little bit of an upgrade?
Yeah.
Something with a little more flexibility to handle, this crazy ever-changing world.
Right.
Well, get ready to dive into Disciplined Agile, or
Uh,
DA for sure,
yeah.
because today we're all about finding that perfect fit for your work style.
And that's the beauty of DA.
Hmm.
It's not about rigid rules. It's like, um, think of it as a buffet
Huh.
of project management approaches.
Yeah.
You've got agile, lean, continuous delivery, and exploratory,
Okay.
each serving up a unique flavor of flexibility
Mm-hmm.
to help teams work smarter, not harder.
Okay, a project management buffet. Now that's my kind of meal plan. But before we pile up the plates too high,
Right.
let's break down these DA life cycles one by one, shall we?
Yeah.
First up, we've got the Agile life cycle.
Okay.
And if you hear terms like Scrum or XP and you get pumped, well, you're in for a treat.
Agile in DA is like building a custom skateboard.
Yeah.
You've got your deck, that's your core framework, but you can trick it out with whatever wheels, trucks, and grip tape suit your style best.
I like that.
Yeah.
So it's all about finding that perfect setup for your team.
Right.
No more forcing yourself to use a clunky one-size-fits-all board.
Exactly.
Now, for those who crave efficiency, and let's face it, who doesn't love a streamlined workflow,
Of course.
we've got the lean life cycle.
Imagine a perfectly organized workshop where everything has its place and you're never wasting time searching for a misplaced tool.
Okay.
That's the essence of lean maximizing value by minimizing waste.
Okay, but how does that actually work in practice? How do you eliminate that waste you're talking about?
It all starts with understanding what's truly valuable to your customer.
Okay,
Anything that doesn't directly contribute to delivering that value
great.
is considered waste. It could be unnecessary meetings,
Yeah.
endless approvals, even tasks that could be automated. Basically, anything that slows you down.
So lean is like clearing out the clutter, both in your physical workspace, I imagine, and in your workflow.
Yeah.
Out with unnecessary steps, in with a smooth, efficient process.
Precisely. And a key part of that smooth process is the concept of pull,
Okay.
where work is pulled in only when there's capacity to handle it.
Okay.
Think of it like a restaurant. You wouldn't want to overwhelm the kitchen with orders all at once.
Right. Makes sense. You want to keep those orders flowing at a manageable pace so the chefs don't get overwhelmed.
Exactly.
You avoid creating a bottleneck in the system.
Exactly. It's all about finding that sweet spot that keeps work moving without sacrificing quality
Right.
or overwhelming your team.
Makes sense.
And speaking of keeping things moving,
Okay.
let's talk continuous delivery.
Hold on to your hats, folks.
Yeah.
If you thought agile and lean were about speed,
Yeah.
continuous delivery is like strapping a rocket booster to your projects.
Yeah.
This is for teams who live and breathe rapid releases. Getting those updates and new features into the hands of users faster than you can say deployment.
And just like our Agile skateboard, continuous delivery comes in two equally awesome flavors,
Whoa.
Agile and Lean.
Okay.
With Agile continuous delivery, picture a well-oiled machine cranking out those releases on a regular schedule, like clockwork.
Okay.
But don't let that fool you into thinking it's inflexible.
So it's structured but not rigid.
Right.
You've still got that agile mindset of adapting to change and incorporating feedback. But with continuous delivery, you're incorporating it even faster.
Exactly. Now, lean continuous delivery, on the other hand, is all about optimizing for speed and efficiency in a more flow-based way.
Okay.
It's less about hitting those predefined release dates and more about getting those updates out the door as soon as they're ready.
So it's like having a constant stream of value flowing to your users.
Yeah.
But, and maybe this is just me, it sounds a bit like organized chaos, How do teams manage all that speed without losing their minds?
That's where automation comes in. To make continuous delivery work, you've got to embrace automation like your best friend.
Right.
Think of it as having a team of tireless robots handling those repetitive tasks like testing and deployment, freeing up your human team to focus on what they do best, creating amazing things.
Automation, the secret sauce of continuous delivery. Now, before we move on from this fast-paced world,
Yeah.
let's address the elephant in the room.
Sure.
With all this focus on speed, how do you ensure you're not sacrificing quality?
That's where a strong testing culture becomes absolutely crucial.
Okay.
It's not enough to just build and release quickly.
Right.
You need to bake quality into every step of the process.
Right.
Think of it like a pit crew in a Formula One race.
You've got to be fast, for sure, but you also need to be incredibly precise and make sure every tire change, every adjustment is flawless
Right.
to avoid a catastrophic failure.
Exactly. Now that we've got our need for speed covered,
Okay.
Are you ready to venture off the beaten path a bit?
Yeah.
Let's explore the world of the exploratory life cycle.
This sounds intriguing. It's like we've gone from a well-lit path to a choose-your-own-adventure story.
Yeah.
What's waiting for us in the exploratory life cycle?
Think uncharted territory. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Dense jungles, hidden treasures, maybe a few unexpected creatures along the way.
Yeah.
It's the perfect fit for those times when you don't have all the answers up front,
Right.
like launching a brand new product or navigating a disruptive market shift.
Okay, so less roadmap, more compass, and a whole lot of courage.
That's right.
Sign me up. But how does a team actually explore in a project management sense?
Right.
I'm picturing like a team meeting in a safari hat.
It's all about embracing the experimental mindset.
Okay.
Instead of getting bogged down in a huge plan, you break your work down into small, testable hypotheses.
Okay.
You build a bare bones version, a minimum viable product.
Yeah.
You put it out there in the world, and you see what happens.
So it's less about will this work and more about let's find out what works and fast.
You got it. Think of those startups that went from a quirky idea to a household name, seemingly overnight.
Yeah.
They weren't afraid to iterate, to pivot, to even scrap ideas that weren't sticking.
Right.
That's the exploratory life cycle in action.
That's fascinating. It's almost like turning project management into a science experiment.
Yeah.
You've got your control group, your variables, and you're constantly analyzing the data to see what's working.
Right.
But how do you measure success in this kind of environment?
Sure.
It's not as clear-cut as like hitting a deadline, right?
Absolutely. Success in the exploratory life cycle is all about maximizing learning.
Okay.
Did your experiment validate your hypothesis?
Right.
Did it uncover new insights about your customers?
Okay.
That's the real treasure.
So it's less about delivering a finished product on day one and more about gathering the intel you need to build the right product.
That's right.
Even if that means making some course corrections along the way.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see why DA emphasizes having a variety of approaches at your fingertips.
It's like having different lenses for your camera.
Right.
You wouldn't use a macro lens to shoot a landscape.
Right.
Each DA life cycle brings a unique perspective to the table, allowing you to choose the best approach for the situation.
That's a great analogy. But before we get too lost in the world of photography, I think it's time to step back and revisit each of these life cycles in a bit more detail.
Okay.
We've covered a lot of ground, but I want to make sure our listeners have some concrete takeaways they can actually use.
Sounds like a plan. Let's start with the agile life cycle, shall we?
Okay.
We talked about building custom skateboards. Remember
Yeah.
how you can choose the perfect setup for your team.
Right.
Well, let's break down some of those components.
Okay, so let's say I'm a project lead who's pretty comfortable with Scrum,
Right.
but my team is craving a bit more structure around our daily tasks.
Yeah.
Where do I even start?
That's where Disciplined Agile really shines.
Okay.
It doesn't lock you into a rigid framework. So if your team thrives on having a clear view of their daily workflow, you could easily incorporate elements of Kanban into your existing Scrum practices.
So picture this. You've got your Scrum board with your sprints and your backlog.
Yeah.
But you also have a Kanban board visualizing those daily tasks, limiting work in progress,
Right.
and keeping everyone on track.
Exactly. And the beauty of it is, you're not just limited to Kanban.
Right.
DA encourages you to explore practices from extreme programming XP, like test-driven development or pair programming,
Uh-huh.
if they add value to your process.
It's like adding those finishing touches to your skateboard.
Right.
You're customizing it to perfectly match your team's style and needs.
Exactly.
Now, I know a lot of our listeners are all about efficiency. Those folks who live by the motto, work smarter, not harder.
Right.
Let's dive a bit deeper into the lean life cycle and how it can help teams streamline their workflow and eliminate waste.
One of the most powerful tools in the Lean Toolkit is something called value stream mapping. This is where you visually map out every single step in your process,
Okay.
from the moment a request comes in to the moment you deliver the final product.
So you're basically creating a flow chart of your workflow, highlighting every single step along the way.
Exactly.
And I'm guessing that's where you start to see those areas where waste is creeping in.
You got it.
Okay.
Could be anything from unnecessary approvals to redundant handoffs between teams
Right.
to tasks that could easily be automated.
So by visualizing your workflow, you can identify those bottlenecks and streamline your process to eliminate as much waste as possible.
Exactly. And less waste translates to faster delivery times,
Right.
happier customers,
Sure.
and a more efficient team overall.
It's a win-win-win situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But lean isn't just about eliminating waste.
Right.
It's also about fostering a culture of continuous improvement.
Okay, how do you do that?
A key principle of lean is the idea of Kaizen,
Okay.
which is all about making small, incremental improvements over time. It's about empowering everyone on the team to identify areas for improvement and then testing out solutions.
So it's not about finding that one magic bullet that solves all your problems overnight.
Right.
It's about embracing that mindset of continuous learning and experimentation.
Exactly.
Okay, now let's shift gears and talk about continuous delivery.
Okay.
We've got our agile enthusiasts, our lean efficiency experts. This one's for the speed freaks.
Fasten your seatbelts.
Oh,
Remember those two flavors of continuous delivery?
yeah.
Agile and lean?
Right.
Well, let's talk about what makes them so delicious.
Right.
With agile continuous delivery, you're all about that consistent, predictable release cadence.
Think of it like a well-choreographed dance routine. Like every move is planned out,
Right.
every beat is accounted for,
Yes.
and the end result is a seamless, synchronized performance.
Exactly.
But what if your team thrives on a bit more flexibility?
That's where lean continuous delivery shines. Instead of sticking to a rigid release schedule, you're optimizing for speed and efficiency, getting those updates out the door as soon as they're ready. Right. Picture a jazz band.
Okay.
Each musician has their part,
All right.
but they're also free to improvise and riff off of each other.
It's about finding that rhythm, that flow that keeps the music moving without skipping a beat.
Exactly.
But whether you're all about that structured agile approach or that free-flowing lean vibe, one thing remains constant.
What's that?
Automation is your best friend.
Absolutely. Without automation, continuous delivery is like trying to run a marathon with your shoelaces tied together.
Yeah.
It's just not going to end well.
You're going to be slow, you're going to trip, and you're probably going to end up face down on the pavement.
Exactly.
Not exactly the recipe for success. So embrace automation.
Yes.
Automate those repetitive tasks.
Right.
Free up your human team to focus on what they do best, creating amazing things. Now, even with the most efficient processes and a team of automation wizards, things don't always go according to plan.
That's true.
That's why in the world of continuous delivery, it's crucial to have a robust testing strategy in place.
You got it. Remember that Formula One pit crew analogy?
Yeah.
You need to be fast,
Right.
but you also need to be incredibly precise
Right.
to avoid those catastrophic failures.
Yeah.
And that's where testing comes in.
Testing is key.
It's about catching those bugs early and often before they have a chance to impact your users.
Right.
Think of it like having a safety net under a trapeze artist.
Okay.
It doesn't prevent them from falling, but it sure makes those landings a lot softer.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground with agile, lean, and continuous delivery.
We have.
Are you ready to venture back into the wilderness of the exploratory life cycle?
Lead the way. Remember, this one's for the trailblazers,
Right.
the innovators, the ones who aren't afraid to get their hands dirty and experiment.
We talked about the importance of experimentation, of testing those hypotheses and gathering data to guide your decisions.
Right.
But how do you actually build a product when you're constantly exploring and iterating?
That's where the concept of minimum viable product, or MVP, comes in.
Okay.
Think of it like building a prototype.
Right.
You're not building the entire product with all the bells and whistles right out of the gate.
You're starting with the bare minimum features that allow you to test your assumptions and get something in front of your users as quickly as possible.
Precisely. And the key here is to gather feedback early and often.
Okay.
You don't want to spend months building a product in a vacuum,
Right.
only to find out that it doesn't actually solve the problem you set out to solve.
So you're constantly iterating, pivoting, and refining your product based on that real-world feedback.
Exactly.
It's about embracing that agile mindset of fail fast, learn faster.
Exactly. And while the exploratory life cycle might feel a bit chaotic at times, remember,
Mhm.
it's all about maximizing learning. Each experiment, each iteration brings you one step closer to building a product that truly resonates with your target audience.
Now, as we wrap up our deep dive into disciplined agile life cycles, I want to emphasize one key point.
Okay.
These life cycles aren't meant to be rigid frameworks that you have to follow to the letter.
They're more like guideposts,
Yeah.
helping you navigate the complex world of project management
Right.
and choose the approach that best suits your team, your project, and your organizational goals.
And remember, the beauty of Disciplined Agile lies in its adaptability.
It does?
You're not locked into any one approach. You
Yeah.
have the freedom to blend practices, borrow ideas,
Yeah.
and create a way of working that truly empowers your team to excel.
It's about finding the tools and techniques that work best for you.
Right?
And constantly learning and improving along the way.
It's like having this giant toolbox, right?
Right.
Full of different project management tools, saws, hammers, screwdrivers, you name it. You
Yeah.
wouldn't use a wrench for every job, right?
Exactly. You choose the right tool for the task at hand.
Right.
Disciplined Agile is about empowering you to build that perfect toolkit, drawing from a variety of methodologies and approaches to create a way of working that fits your unique context.
And just like any good craftsperson will tell you, it's not about collecting the most tools, you know.
Right.
It's about mastering the ones you have and knowing when to use them effectively.
Couldn't agree more. So as you embark on your own disciplined agile journey, remember,
Yeah.
it's not a one-size-fits-all solution.
Right.
It's about understanding the principles of adaptability, collaboration, and customer focus,
Right.
and then applying those principles to create a work environment where your team can truly thrive.
And don't be afraid to experiment. Try out different life cycles, mix and match practices, see what works best for your team and your projects.
Exactly.
The beauty of Disciplined Agile is that it's designed for continuous learning and improvement.
What's most important is fostering that mindset of curiosity.
Right.
And a willingness to embrace change. The world of work is constantly evolving,
Yeah.
and Disciplined Agile gives you the tools and the flexibility to evolve right along with it.
Beautifully said. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from the structured world of Agile to the efficiency of Lean,
Yeah.
the speed of continuous delivery, and the experimental nature of Exploratory.
That's right.
We've explored how Disciplined Agile empowers you to break free from rigid frameworks and create a way of working that truly serves your team and your customers.
Absolutely.
So as you navigate the exciting, ever-changing world of project management,
Yeah.
remember the key takeaway. There's no one right way to do things. Embrace the flexibility of Disciplined Agile, find the approach that fits your unique needs, and never stop learning and growing. Until next time, stay curious and keep those projects agile.